Hello students, welcome to the class of digital communication. Today we are going to see the concept of controlled ISI, that is controlled amount of intersymbol interference or partial response signaling. So if we remember our previous class, in that class we have discussed the Nyquist first criteria, and in the discussion of Nyquist first criteria, we have seen that the condition for 0 ISI is defined as Pt is equal to 1, for t is equal to 0, for 0 t is equal to plus minus NTB. Right? This we have already seen. Okay. So now we have also chosen a pulse which satisfies the criteria of Nyquist, and the pulse was like Pt is equal to sin of pi RBT, and we have also seen that there are some problems which are associated with this pulse because this pulse was hard to realize because it has taken infinite time to generate, as well as the second problem with this pulse was it decays too slow, that is at the rate of 1 by t. Okay, this we have already seen. These were the two main problems associated with this impulse. So then uh, in the discussion we have also found that we can also propose some modification in this pulse, and with those modification we can find out a new pulse which has a faster decay rate. So the modified pulse which we have designed was Pt is equal to, that was Pt is equal to Rb cos of pi r Rb t divided by 1 minus 4r was 1 minus 4r square Rb t square, and then the single pulse pi Rb t. This was the pulse which we have designed, and this new pulse is named as raised cosine pulse. This new pulse was known as raised cosine pulse, right? And the benefit of this pulse was that it was having decay rate of 1 upon t cube, which is very faster, and so it reduces lot many problems which we have already discussed in the last lecture, right? But we have also seen that when we were discussing these raised cosine pulses, so in the frequency domain, see, in the time domain we are saying that these are raised cosine pulses, but in the frequency domain what we have done, we have we have increased the requirement of, for example, this was the ideal pulse. This was we have ideal the requirement of which requires the minimum theoretical bandwidth, that is bandwidth, and the modified pulse can be shown as like this. Modified pulse can be shown like this, right? So in the frequency domain we can see here that the requirement of the bandwidth is increased. So definitely sorry, this is again a drawback. This is again a drawback in the communication, that we are increasing the requirement of the bandwidth. So despite of having lot many advantages, this pulse, this modified raised cosine pulse is also having one limitation, that it is increasing the requirement of the bandwidth. And normally in the communication we wish that the requirement of the bandwidth should not increase. So for that, Nyquist suggested a new criteria. Nyquist suggested a new criteria, and that criteria is can be named as controlled ISI, or partial response signaling. Right? In this criteria, Nyquist suggested that if we want to reduce the requirement of the bandwidth, if we want to reduce the requirement of the bandwidth, what we have to do? We have to widen the pulse in time domain. Right? This is as simple as that. Means if you want to decrease the requirement of the bandwidth, right, this extra bandwidth, so what you have to do in the time domain? In the time domain, what we have to do? We have to widen the pulse. In time domain. So as we increase t, this point will slide towards this point, right? This point will slide towards this point. So we can say that as we are increasing t, we are reducing the requirement of the bandwidth, right? We are reducing the requirement of the bandwidth. But again, the important point is what? If your pulse will be widened in the time domain, it will create ISI. It will create ISI. We have already seen this concept, right? We have already seen this concept that, for example, this is the time which is required for any pulse, and if the pulse is taking the time like this, right? So it is called pulse widening in time domain. So definitely the nearby pulse, if that pulse will also get widened in the time domain, then both these pulse will create interference. That is the concept of ISI. We have already seen this in the previous lecture. So it is true that whenever you are widening the pulse, it will create intersymbol interference, right? But here the difference is what? That here whatever the widening is occurring, we are doing it intentionally, right? So here whatever the amount of interference will be produced, it is always controlled amount. Right? This is always controlled amount of ISI, right? Controlled amount of ISI. This is very important, right? So this we have to remember, that here whatever the interference we are creating, it is controlled amount of ISI, right? It is controlled amount of ISI. So whenever it is controlled or it is known amount of ISI, then what we can do? We can always compensate. We can always compensate or reduce such amount of ISI, and definitely if we can reduce or compensate the ISI, definitely it will not going to create any harmful effect whenever we are detecting our signal. So this is important concept, right? So again we are widening the pulse, so definitely we are creating intersymbol interference, but this time this interference is controlled, so we can compensate or reduce such amount of ISI, and if we are widening the pulse in time domain, definitely we are also reducing the frequency requirement in the frequency domain, right? So with this concept, basically we are making a trade-off, right? It is true that whatever the time we are increasing, right, we are widening the pulse, this point will be slide towards the theoretical minimum bandwidth, right? But it will also true that that we are not increasing the time by such an amount that this particular point should touch to RB by 2, right? Because if this point will touch to RB by 2, again we'll go back to the previous situation which we were discussing in the Nyquist criteria, right? So we have to increase the frequency requirement from RB by 2. Why? Because we have to make our signal decay faster, right? So that's why we have to increase the frequency requirement from RB by 2 and in between from RB by 2 to RB. But it is also true that we will not increase this point in this direction that much, right? Because if we are increasing this point towards RB, we are consuming the extra bandwidth, which is again a not desirable feature. So we have to optimize. So again, I should write here. I should write here. The main concept is what, that we should optimize. We should optimize the widening of the pulse, right? The widening of the pulse and reduction in bandwidth requirement. Bandwidth requirement, right? So we have to take care of this, and we have not to widen the pulse by a large time, as well as we have not to reduce the bandwidth requirement by a large amount, right? Because ultimately we also want that there should be the bandwidth there should be bandwidth more than RB by 2, so that it can decay faster. It will give us many advantages, as well as we want to widen the pulse by a little amount, so that uh, it can it can reduce the extra frequency requirement, right? So ultimately we are making a trade-off. We are making a trade-off, right? So to satisfy this situation, again Nyquist has suggested the condition, and this time the condition is mentioned as PT should be defined as 1 for PNTB. I'm writing here this as PNTB. Why? Because TB is the TB is the decision making instant. So here we are writing P and TB. So P and TB can be equal to 1 for n is equal to 0, 1, and it can be 0 for all other values of n. This is the condition this time. So here this time our pulse will have high value for two time, that is n is equal to 0, n is equal to 1, or at t is equal to 0, t is equal to TB, right? So this is the condition, and with the help of this condition, or we can say that whatever the pulse which will satisfy this condition will give us controlled amount of intersymbol interference, and that controlled amount of intersymbol interference can be taken care, and with the help of this concept we'll achieve both the things, that we have not increased the bandwidth requirement by large amount, as well as we are having a faster decay pulse, right? So we should see the graphical representation of such pulse, how its pulse will look like. For example, if I am taking a sync pulse, for example, this is t is equal to 0, this is t is equal to TB, this is t is equal to 2 TB, this is t is equal to 3 TB. Similarly, here we are having minus TB, minus 2 TB, then we are having minus 3 TB. Likewise, right? These are the points. So this time the pulse will be like this, right? For example, this is our pulse, and this time the pulse will be like this. You can see here, this time the pulse will be like this, right? So you can see here we are having high amount of pulse PT in from the range from 0 to TB, right? This time this pulse will be like this, right? In the previous lecture we have seen the normal sync pulse. The normal sync pulse was like this, right? For example, this was a normal sync pulse. This was a normal sync pulse, right? Normal sync pulse. This was the normal sync pulse. So this normal sync pulse have high value only at t is equal to 0. But this time we are having high value at t is equal to 0, as well as at t is equal to TB. So this was the concept, right? So this is the difference between normal sync pulse and this modified pulse, right? Which we have drawn here, right? So this is the pulse which satisfy the criteria of Nyquist of controlled amount of ISI. Right? This is the pulse. For example, we can say that this is pulse 1. So if, for example, we also want to make a nearby pulse, pulse 2, so that pulse can be made like this. For example, that pulse can be made like this. That pulse will have center at T. I'm making this pulse with red color. So the second pulse will be made like this. Like this. So this is our second pulse. Now you can see that if these are two pulses which are of controlled, which are producing controlled amount of ISI, then you can see here that how they are producing controlled amount of ISI. For example, you can see here at t is equal to 0, well, we are having only one pulse, that is pulse number 1, the second pulse is 0. So at this place there will not be any ISI. So this is the point of no ISI. This will also is the point of no ISI because both the pulses are 0. This pulse, this point, all these points are of no ISI. Similarly, if we see this 3dB, this is again a point of no ISI. This point is also of no ISI, right? But if we see this point TB, and at this point both the pulse, blue color pulse and red color pulse, both the pulse are having high values. So this is the place where there might be an ISI. But if we see at t is equal to twice of TB, again we are having pulse number 1 0, but we are having amplitude of pulse number 2. But this point will again also have no ISI, right? So you can see here at t is equal to 0 to t is equal to minus TB, minus 2 TB, as well as t is equal to 2 TB, 3 TB, all these sampling instants or all these decision making instants are having no ISI, but only at point t is equal to TB, this point is there which is producing ISI, and definitely this ISI will be controlled amount of ISI. This will be controlled amount of ISI which can be taken care, So this is the concept. And one more important point is what, that only nearby pulses, means pulse 1 may have the interference with pulse 2, but pulse 1 cannot have interference with pulse number 3. So in all this communication we are having the interference between successive pulse. Right? So this is again interference between successive pulses. So this will also prove that there should not be any uncontrolled amount of ISI, right? And we can handle this controlled amount of ISI, we can compensate this controlled amount of ISI, so we can easily manage such kind of communication, right? Now one more point that we want to see, if we are doing such kind of communication, then how the pulses can be detected at the side of receiver, right? So to understand that concept, here we have to consider that we always use polar signaling scheme in such communication where we are using the concept of controlled amount of ISI, right? And what was the polar signaling scheme? In polar signaling scheme, one was transmitted by the pulse PT, and 0 is transmitted by the pulse minus of PT, right? So 1 is transmitted by PT and 0 is transmitted by minus PT. So if we see the amplitude strength, then for PT it can be plus 1 and for minus PT it can be -1. So this is again important. So ultimately we can say that for one bit, for the bit 1, basically the amplitude is +1, and for bit 0 the amplitude is basically -1, right? This is the concept. So if we are transmitting or doing such communication with the help of polar signaling, we will find that in such case, we'll find that the detection will be very easy, right? So now we can take and what will happen actually? How will do communication when we are having such kind of cases where we are having two pulses in the channel, right? We are having two bits in the channel, right? So what is the possibility with us? We can say in this case, what is the possibility? The possibility is either we can have the time instants, either we can have the sampling instants at sampling instants at sampling instants, that is on NTBs, right? What is possible at different sampling time? See, for example, this is a sampling instant t is equal to 0, this is a sampling instant at t is equal to tb, this is a sampling instant, and we can have many other sampling instants. So what are the possibilities with us? At some time it might possible that we are having pulse number 1 is also pt, right? And pulse number 2 is also pt, right? In that case you can see that the amplitude strength of in such case the amplitude strength will be +1 and again +1. So +1 +1 will give you 2, right? Similarly the second case may be that we are having first pulse which is representing pt at any sampling instant, and the second pulse for example is representing we can say is representing minus of pt, right? In that case what will happen? pt will give you +1, minus pt will give you -1, right? And in that case you can say that the outcome at any sampling instant may be 0, because +1 -1 will give you 0. The third case may be that first pulse is also denoting by -pt and second pulse is also denoted by -pt. In that case the outcome will be -2 at any sampling instant. So whenever you are receiving this kind of signal, if you are using polar signaling, then whatever the signal you are receiving at different sampling instant, the values you can get will be either 2 or 0 or -2, right? So if we are receiving such kind of samples, then we can easily detect what may be the transmitted information bit sequence, right? So we can understand that concept with the help of a simple example. So here I am going to take that example. For example, we are having a tabular representation here. For example, here I am plotting information bits. Information bits, basically these are the bits which we have transmitted from the transmitter. So actually these bits I am just writing here for the sake of simplicity, otherwise in practical communication this bit is unknown to you, right? Because it is transmitted by the transmitter. For example, this bit is 1 1 0 1 1, and then we can have 0 0. For example, this is the situation, right? Now for example, the sampling instant, I am plotting the sampling instant YKTB which we are receiving at different sampling instant. For example, this first bit we are considering it as 1, and for the second bit we are having 2, then for third information bit we are having 0, then 2, then 0, then -2, -2, right? For example, these are the sample values which we have received at the side of receiver. Now what we will do, we will detect that what may be the bits which were transmitted from the transmitter side, right? So for that we should know, for example, we will guess this first bit. So if we are receiving the sample value as 1, so we are considering that the transmitted bit sequence was 1. This we are considering. This we are considering here, right? And with this assumption, now we can decode all other bits with the help of this value, right? With the help of this value. So we are not going to see these values, right? Because we don't know what the information bit has been already transferred. We know only this line, right? Either we are receiving 2, or we are receiving 0, or we are receiving 2, or we are receiving minus 2. So on the basis of these 2's and 0's and minus 2's, we have to detect that what should be the transmitted information bit. For example, we are at this position. Our value at any sampling stand is 2. We are receiving 2. Then what we have to decide for here, right? What bit should be detected here? So if we know that if we are receiving 2 at any sampling stand, it means that both the pulse 1 and pulse 2, both the pulse should be positive pulses. Both the pulse should be positive pulses, that is plus PT, right? Only in this case we can get the amplitude plus 2, right? So for example, here we can say that this is pulse number 1, the previous pulse, right? This is pulse number 1. So this pulse should be again, 1. If this pulse is 1, only then 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. This is possible, right? Otherwise, if you are putting here 0, then 1 plus 0 will give you 1, which is not correct, because you are receiving here 2. So 2 means what? Both the pulses, the previous pulse and the current pulse, both the pulses should be positive pulses. So previous pulse is 1, then this present pulse should also be 1. Right? This we have detected. Similarly, if we are going towards the next sample, we are receiving here 0. We are receiving here 0. 0 means what? We are receiving 0 in what case? We are receiving 0 whenever both the pulses are having opposite polarity. Means previous pulse and present pulse. Both these pulses are having opposite polarity. It means what? It means that for 0, the previous pulse is 1. So present pulse should be always opposite to 1, right? Opposite to 1 means what? 0. Because in polar signaling, 0 is transmitted by minus PT. So minus 1 is correspond to 0. So the bit which should be detected here, it should be 0. Right? It should be 0. Now we are receiving the sample value, that is 2. We are receiving the sample value 2. 2 means what? 2 means if we are receiving the sample value 2, sorry, here we should have basically 0. I am changing this value. Why? Because I am taking an example according to this data. So there should be 0 here, right? There should be 0 here. Then only you can do the correct calculation. So this bit should be 0. We are having 1, 2, 0, 0. So again, if we are having value 0, 0 means what? 0 means the present pulse and the previous pulse. This is the previous pulse, this is the present pulse. Both should have opposite polarity. Opposite polarity means if the previous pulse is 0, then the current pulse should be 1. Right? So this is 1. Now the next value. Next value is 2. Again, we know that 2 means what? The previous pulse and the present pulse. Both should have positive as well as same. Right? So it means that if this is 1, this is also be 1. Then only we can receive 2. Now the next pulse we are receiving 0. 0 means what? 0 means there should be opposite polarity. Opposite polarity means the previous pulse and the present pulse both should have opposite sign. So if this is 1, then this should be 0. Right? This should be 0. Now the next sample which we are receiving, it is -2. It is -2. -2 means both the pulses are having same magnitude but opposite with opposite sign, right? For example, minus pt, right? If both the pulses are like this, then only they can give you -2, right? Because pt is having -1, this pt is having -1, -1 is -2. So -2 means the previous pulse and the present pulse both are same, but both are having negative value. So 0 corresponds to -1. So this bit should also be 0. Then only these two bits will give you -2, right? So this is the detected bits. 1 1 0 1 0 1 1 0 0, right? This is the detected bit for such kind of communication, right? For such kind of communication, right? So we can say here that in this scenario we have already seen what is the condition for controlled amount of ISI. We have also seen that if we are using polar signaling scheme, then then we can have these three possible values which we can receive at the side of receiver, either 2, 0 or -2, and on the basis of these three values 2, 0 and -2, we can exactly detect what may be the transmitted information bit sequences. So here we have seen this example. At the side of receiver we are receiving either 1, 2, 0, 0, 2, 0, -2, and on the basis of these values we are taking the decision on or we are estimating or we are guessing the bits, present bits, right? And we are guessing that these bit sequence should be the transmitted bit sequence, right? Error might be possible, but here in this example you can see that there is no error. The detected bits are 1 1 0 1 1 0 0. The transmitted bits were 1 1 0 1 1 0 0. Same as information, same as transmitted bits. We are receiving the received bits, right? And what we have, what the concept we have used, if we are having 2, it means both the pulse, present pulse and previous pulse should have same value. So 1 1, right? Similarly, if we are receiving 0, then both the pulse, present pulse and previous pulse should have opposite polarity. And if you are receiving -2, then both the pulse, present pulse and previous pulse should have same value but with opposite sign, right? This is the basic concept. I hope this thing is clear to all of you. And this suggested criteria is also known as Nyquist second criteria, right? Nyquist second criteria, right? And this is also known as partial response signaling. Why partial response signaling? Because we have to bear with some controlled amount of intersymbol interference. That's why it is partial response signaling. And as in the previous lecture we have seen that the condition for which Nyquist has suggested in the first criteria, to satisfy that condition we have used sync pulse, that was sync pi RBT, and then we have defined raised cosine pulses. Similarly here, the pulse which can satisfy this second criteria, we can write it down, the pulse which can satisfy this second criteria can be named as diode binary pulses, right? DO binary pulses. This is the concept. So what is the time domain representation for DO binary pulses? It is Pt is equal to sine of pi RBT divided by pi RBT 1 minus RBT. This was the pulse. And if you want to see the frequency domain representation of such pulse, that we can also written down here, that PF can be simply written as 2 upon RB cos of pi f upon RB rectangular pulse of f upon RB into e to the power minus j pi f upon RB. This was a Fourier transform of this pulse, which can be named as, for example, here we can name it as equation number 1. So this is the Fourier transform. This is the Fourier transform of this equation number 1. This is equation number 2. So this is known as DO binary pulse. This is known as DO binary pulse. Why we are saying DO binary? Because as we have seen in this diagram, that it is having binary. DO binary means it is high at two time instants, that is at 0 at TB, right? So that's why it is DO binary pulse. That's why it is DO binary pulse, right? This pulse can be satisfy the Nyquist second criteria. And what is the advantage? That this pulse will be decay at the rate of 1 upon t square, as we can see here. This is pi RBT into t, so it will be t square. So we can say that the decay rate of this pulse is high. The decay rate of this pulse is high. That is at the rate of 1 upon t square, right? So decay rate is also high and the frequency requirement is little bit small, right? So it is a good trade-off pulse where the requirement of frequency is not increasing by a large amount, as well as the decay rate is not going to slow. It is still high, right? It is still decaying with the rate of 1 upon t square. So basically this pulse can serve your both the objectives, or you can say that this pulse can be treated as a optimized pulse, which can give you the advantage of fast decaying as well as less amount of frequency requirement. So this was the Nyquist criteria, right? Nyquist second criteria. And the pulse which satisfy the Nyquist second criteria, that is DO binary pulse, right? But still this pulse is also having one problem, and that problem is what? That again this pulse is not having DC null. Yeah, perhaps you remember that we have talked lot many discussions on this point, that what is the advantage of having DC null, right? So this pulse is again is not having DC null. So to have DC null, we suggest a new family of pulses. To have DC null, we can suggest a new family of pulses, and those can be named as modified DO binary pulses, right? Modified DO binary pulses. So I am stopping here. In the next lecture, I will discuss something about modified DO binary pulses, as well as some detection scheme for these DO binary and modified DO binary pulses, right? And then we can complete this Nyquist second criteria, which can give you the controlled amount of intersymbol interference, which can be compensated with the help of Euler signaling, and data can be easily detected at the side of receiver. So I hope you got the concept. Till now I am stopping here.